Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Primetime Newscast in the English language on Canal International. I'm called Morinzi at Top Stories. Assembly opens this Thursday and will be marked by 3 special plenary and 6 information and exchange sessions. Health personnel have been told to embrace a mobile vaccination approach in order to scale up the expected target of 20% vaccination coverage against COVID-19 before the African Nations Cup. And the head coach of the Indomitable Lions of Cameroon has called on the players to exercise total concentration against Malawi and Ivory Coast. Those are major stories. Details right ahead. The November session of the National Assembly opens this Thursday and will be marked by 3 special plenary and 6 information and exchange sessions. A press briefing today by the Secretary General of the National Assembly is to enlighten reporters on the stakes and agenda of the upcoming session. More with Beatrice Ngamu.
The November session of Parliament, popularly known as the budgetary session, begins on Thursday, November the 11th. A session consecrated specifically on the examination of the Finance Bill. It concerns essentially the examination of Regulation Bill project, which is the balance sheet for this year running out and that for 2022. It is a session different from that of March and June because of our intense activity, and it's likely to be a marathon one also. This, as the law states that the deadline for the deposit of the regulation project bill is September 30th, and reporters were told during a briefing with the Secretary General of the National Assembly that government has beaten her own record. For once, the government has deposited her project at the beginning of October. New indeed, as it is always deposited during the session. 3 special plenary and 6 information and exchange sessions will mark the period. The special plenary starts after the Chairman's Conference Friday, includes the presentation of National Development Strategy, the NDS 2030. This for the people's representative to know government vision and strategy in place. The development and reconstruction of the crisis-ridden Northwest and Southwest regions, next online. Then the works on government debt and financial expenditures this far. The 6 information and exchange sessions will cover program of AFCON 2021, organization and mobilization, CAF Cameroon issues, elaboration of international information, status of military engineering and their contribution to development, status and issues of PTA in schools and level of norms in the country. This, the different ministers will defend before the people's representatives.
Good news for kidney patients in Cameroon. The first process of kidney transplant will take place on November 10 at the Yaoundé General Hospital. The process is technically assisted by the Director of Surgery Transplants of the Geneva University Hospital. Preparations for the pioneer preparation made in an executive committee meeting at the hospital. Hysen Cha completes that story.
Steps of hope and living a normal life after 11 years. He is the first kidney patient to benefit from kidney transplant in Cameroon. The donor, his younger brother, an expression of joy and relief from hemodialysis actions. I am satisfied that my brother accepted to give me one of his kidney. I will not also stop thanking Professor Gento because it is with him that we are closer to the project of kidney transplant today. The technical operation room here at the Yaoundé General Hospital set for the process all medical disposition towards the transplant finalized.
The preparation of the Yaoundé team has been excellent. They have been very committed, and everything has been done extremely seriously. Great hopes that everything will go smoothly. Series of a good program.
Applause for the hospital as this comes barely 1 week after the manifestation by kidney patients decrying the non-functioning of treatment facilities.
Our equipment is very sophisticated. We are engaging ourselves in a long-time project, so we hope also the environment will facilitate evolution of the project.
Equally, meeting at their ECNIS committee session this November 9, hospital authorities used the opportunity to warn that the initiative is not to promote malicious activities of human or organ trafficking.
We prepare on an ethical point of view. You know that our environment is not easy. We need to do a lot of transparency to convince people that there is no conflict of interest.
Cameroonians are urged to zoom fear, assist family members and loved ones as the process goes operational in Cameroon.
In 2001, Michel Brunet announced a years of research discovery to be carried out in a Central African Republic with the discovery of remains like skull and jaw, which is historical proof. Paleontologists has affirmed that humanity began in Africa. More in the following story.
Born on April 6, 1940, the French paleontologist Michel Brunet, who thanks to his discovery affirms that humanity began in Africa.
We are all Africans, all originated from Africa. Africa is the cradle of humanity, and out of Africa we are all migrants.
Following the founding of human skull, jaw remains of the late Moisin hominid with over 7 million years. The conference organized in the nation's political capital Yaoundé November 8 also aimed to clarify some remaining controversial historical facts.
I one day went in search of the oldest human, or pre-human, to clarify the evolution of humanity. It was very long, but the group, Paleo-Chadians, paleontologists, established the first Hostra Polytech known in the West, and second brought Tumai, who is actually the oldest with 7 million years.
Thanks to this evolution, a department of paleontology is now available in Cameroon to study the forms of life existent, especially as represented by fossils.
There is a department of geology. I've made a real collaboration in charge in Cameroon. The actual director of IRGM is my product. Anywhere I go in Africa, I create collaboration, like training, information, and even sharing.
The documentaries presented this day is to sensitize Cameroonian students to build a strong conviction that we are all Africans and out of Africa, all migrants.
Health personnel in Cameroon have been told to embrace a mobile approach in vaccination in order to target the 20% before the African nations. Core vaccination centers for now have been rated as inefficient, while the northern and south regions of Cameroon are yet to commence the vaccination proper. More in the following story.
Vaccination coverage against COVID in Cameroon has been rated at 2%, far below the expected target of at least 80% of vulnerable target populations by December 2021.
As of now, we are at 12% with respect to our targeted rate. We are just 12% towards the target. It means that instead of vaccinating, say, 80 persons in a day, we are doing just 11. Which is really low. And we should also have in the back of our mind that this COVID-19 virus is very deadly. So we are not only talking about statistics, we are talking about people.
While seeking means to expand the vaccination target, all people over 18 years, health personnel have been told to embrace a mobile vaccination approach after rating the on-the-spot vaccination in centers as ineffective.
Another strategy that the Ministry of Health has embarked on is mobile vaccination, where they are trying to come up with, first of all, they are understaffed, but they are making every effort that they can to go out into the communities to see how they can meet, like Mr. Iwane said, to meet the people at their doorstep so that the vaccination can be scaled up.
The northern regions and south regions, particularly Kribi and Ebolowa, are still limping in terms of vaccination coverage. There are fears, if nothing is done to fill the gap. 70% of the new vaccines acquired might expire by November 28, 2021.
Realize that up till now, despite the numerous efforts that have been put in place in order to increase coverage, the vaccination coverage as far as COVID is concerned is still low. And that's why the Ministry of Health, in collaboration with partners, have decided to set up additional vaccination centers in order to increase service delivery.
Cameroon is expected to hit a 60% vaccination coverage against COVID-19 by 2020 and 20% vaccination rate before the African Nations Cup.
Although the informal sector in Cameroon contributes to the country's economic growth, the sector is still far from being structured, and this has been blamed on lack of information, training and governance. Gladys Amodiban completes that story.
Over the past couple of years, small business development as potential solution to flagging economic growth and rising unemployment in Cameroon has increased. But the unregulated nature of the informal sector is delaying entrepreneurial growth.
The informal sector cannot be structured. It exists like that. It is created automatically by people trying to survive. And then they hide information. They cannot give real information. Don't forget, the point here is collecting data and statistics. And when you are unable, when the state in an economy is unable to extract that exact data on which it can make policy, you understand that development programs and so on will not reflect the reality of the country.
Statistics indicate that 90% of the labor force in Cameroon is trapped in the informal sector. Apart from deficiency in economic governance, lack of information and training have been blamed for their transitional delay from the informal to the formal sector.
Only 60,000 can create your own business. They are not aware of that. For me, what the government should do is to inform the people. They should work on information. And even they not only inform them, even train them, care of them to move them go from the informal to the formal sector.
And the tax. Some of those people in the informal sector, they do that to run away from taxes. And the only thing the government can do is to identify, put mechanism to identify those people because they are living within the economy and introduce them in the national statistic so that easily they can get information. Of course, I will always tell you that I think the way this government is functioning, they just want to allow people to survive because they don't have an economic blueprint.
Analysts believe governments must encourage sustainable growth-oriented and innovative firms, not simply fostering more startups.
French-born Lila Kela is in Cameroon for the promotion of the motto with the artist BC Amak. She has a passion to sing the Homola language, which is a foreign for her native language. More with Saleh Sharifa.
Lila Kalia, of the French nationality, who feature in a duo with BC Mac, has arrived Cameroon. I come back to Cameroon for the promotion of Muto with the artist BC Mac and to prepare the revelation of other surprises, which is yet to come. Together with BC, you will have 2 song titles to start with. I had lots of challenges to get out of my comfort zone because singing was not my domain. It is in the local language Homala, spoken in 14 different villages in the west region of Cameroon, that she performed her duo with BC Mac. She says singing in Homala is an adventure that she particularly likes. It is with the Cameroonian artist BC Mac that Lila flows on board in music since 2018 as a dancer and today a singer.
We now talk sports. The head coach of the Indomitable Lions of Cameroon has called on players to exercise total concentrations against Malawi and Ivory Coast. He made a call this evening in a press conference at the Amadu Ayijo Stadium, giving updates of different players and preparatory sessions. More in the following story with Hyson Cha.
Uncertainty over the arrival of striker Eric Maxime Choupo-Moting into the Lions' den. According to updates from the head coach of the Indomitable Lions, Antonio Conceição da Silva, the Bayern Munich goal poacher was already at the airport to Cameroon when he was called back by the club for medical examination, given that a teammate has tested positive to the COVID-19. Pierre Koundé Malong completely ruled out of the squad for injury reasons. Talking to the men and women of the press this November 9th, Conceição called on players to make no mistakes in the two crucial matches to keep their chances intact by grabbing a win against Malawi on Saturday, November 13 in South Africa. As to why players like Andre Onana, Christian Basogok, Oyongo Bitolo and Jean Efala with less playing time in their respective clubs have to be called up for such decisive encounters, the coach says he counts on their experiences and motivation to other players. Accompanied to the press outing was team captain Vincent Abubakar, who expressed his readiness to tackle the two games collectively, stating that the squad is made up of great talents, bent on qualifying for the Qatar expedition in 2022. The 15-minute press exchange was immediately followed by a training session at the Annex 1 Stadium.
Paul Heinz and Cha brings us to the end of this edition of Newscast on Canal de International. Thanks so much for watching. We have news in the French language at exactly 19h50 with Alain Gislain Kanga. But coming up next is the brief with Lil Piejou. As for me, I'll be back tomorrow, same time. Good night.